So this is a review for The Bashful Buzzard, released in 1945. It's the 461st in the series, and it's directed by Bob Clampett. You can find this beautiful restoration on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 5 DVD set, and on the Looney Tunes Platinum Collection Volume 2 DVD and Blu-ray set, and I'll have links below to both those sets. This short is under copyright, so you will not find it on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves choose to upload it, and it's quite safe, so they may end up doing so. But in case you haven't seen this one, so it's the second appearance of Beaky Buzzard. So in the first one, he was with Bugs Bunny, but in this case, he goes solo. And it's the same story idea, so Beaky, along with his siblings, are sent out to find some food by their mother. After a while, the siblings get some really weird kinds of food. I mean, I guess they're really hungry. And Beaky ends up only capturing a bee, but he's not successful. He eventually finds a small head, but that small head is attached to a rather large dragon. So not really too much in this one by way of story, but that's okay. So in terms of trivia for this one, this is actually the last short to feature the voice work of Kent Rogers. So Kent Rogers is the voice of Beaky Buzzard, and he also did a lot of incidental voices for Warner Brothers in the early 40s. And he was quite young too, and yet he was a tremendous talent. Sadly, he died during a training exercise in World War II. Beaky Buzzard's voice would end up being taken over by Mel Blanc for the other shorts. Now, because this is a Blue Ribbon reissue, unfortunately the original titles are presumed to be lost. I don't know if they've been found recently or not. If they have, definitely let me know in the comments. But what has been found is the actual music cue itself. And what they did is one of the extras on those DVD sets I mentioned before is that they recreated some generic titles which they wouldn't have looked like this, but they just did something as a placeholder and actually played the cue. So here's what the cue sounds like. So yeah, hopefully one day they can find at least some fragments of what the actual titles would have looked like, because this is one of those cases where they should recreate the titles because they've got the actual music and they can just Frankenstein the whole thing together. What's also pretty cool is that a lot of storyboards are available, so you can watch the short on those sets with the storyboards. So all throughout this review, I'll put some of the storyboards up to compare it to the end product. Now, the origins of Beaky I already covered in detail in Bugs Bunny Gets the Boyd. So definitely check that out if you want more details on Beaky Buzzard. I'll just quickly mention that he's basically a parody of the ventriloquist dummy Mortimer Snurd, and he was originally even named the Snurd Bird in the character design sheets. The mother is a parody of Minerva Pius's character Mrs. Nussbaum, voiced by Sarah Burner. So she does that voice along with the sheep. You have Kent Rogers doing Beaky Buzzard, and a farmer. Mel Blanc does all the other voices. But let's take a look at this short from start to finish, and I'll go through some of the other references as we go along. So we start off with pretty much a sequence lifted from Bugs Bunny Gets the Boyd. It opens up basically the same. So you got the mother instructing her children to go out and get particular bits of food, so a horse, a cow, and so on. And I love how it's just all comically large things that she wants to get. But honestly, people would have forgotten how the opening of Bugs Bunny Gets the Boyd would have been anyway, because that would not have been reissued at this time. So it's perfectly fine with him reusing a very strong opening, but I like how it all just starts straight away, bang, here's the story, and off we go. But of course, we see our quote-unquote killer. I like how she gives him that nickname. It's just, I don't know, I love that. I'm not the biggest fan of Beaky Buzzard. I know, shock, horror, but I'll admit I just like this whole idea of calling him a killer, even though it's the complete opposite. And he does this shtick, which audiences would have loved from Bugs Bunny Gets the Boyd, where he goes, oh no, 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 and it's just so bashful. Well, I mean, the short is called Bashful Buzzard after all, right?
You're gonna scram!
Oh no! Oh no! No, I don't want.
But I love Kent Rogers' voice acting as Beaky Buzzard, though. Again, not the biggest fan of the character, but the voice work is hilarious. So she, instead of in Bugs Bunny Gets the Boyd, where she's like, hey, can you at least get a little rabbit or something? Here it's, hey, get a little butterfly or something. And I like the fact that in this one, it continues to be bashful, not going anywhere, nope, not going to. And the mother just ends up kicking him anyway, while he's still being bashful even though he's in midair.
At least to go out and get a butterfly or a little worm. or something.
No, I'd rather not. No, I don't want. No, I just don't want. Oh.
But of course, in a bit of cartoon logic, he realizes that he's actually not flying, he's in midair, and he starts to fall. But he starts flying anyway. And we hear his theme, which is his own version of Arkansas Traveler. So he adds his own little spin on that, which, hey, works pretty well. Now, I love the effect of those other sibling birds there. You got that element of speed that's shown off. It's nothing extreme, and yet just shows off the power of these birds. So they look on over to a farm and they realize, yep, this is where our prey is going to be. And we get this wonderful comical sequence where they just get all these big items in an over-the-top fashion, as only Clampett could do. And of course, we see the contrast of Beaky following not close behind, being incredibly slow and, well, dim-witted, of course. But look at the animation of the first bit of prey that the first bird gets. So the rooster is about to crow, and if you slow-mo that, it looks kind of gruesome, doesn't it? So he grabs the rooster, I guess, mid-crow. And again, the next bird grabs a chicken, and if you slow-mo that, again, it looks incredibly gruesome. But we need to have, of course, a double take of the bird also getting those eggs, because, well, you sort of have to. And it's kind of appropriate, actually, recording this in 2025, and I'll say no more. And that voice acting of the old geezer chicken saying, "Why you dagnammit?" Just, that kills me in this short. It's one of my favorite bits, and naturally, he gets snatched up too. So now it's Beaky's turn, and as he's diving down, look at his Adam's apple, how it's just animated like that. It's very subtle, and yet it works so well here. He breaks the fourth wall saying, "Look, folks, I'm going to get something." He says he's going to get that big rooster, which we all know is just a little weather vane. So great animation on that weather vane being all distorted. So the mother is a little bit more of an active character in this one, because in the first appearance, she's just pretty much in the nest in the very beginning and until later on. But here she also appears midway to give the guidance to her little killer. And again, Sarah Bernard's delivery of the mother is fantastic. How she goes on about you're a spitting image of your father, and she spits and starts slapping Killer around.
My little killer, the spitting image of his papa. Pui! Come, killer, smack! Stop making a foolishness! Why couldn't you be smart like your brothers?
This is maybe not the wildest Bob Clampett short, but it's definitely got some wonderful wild takes in here, just like in this scene. And she then says, "Why can't you be smart like your brothers who have all caught those 3 sheep?" And we get a little bit of emotion here where Beaky is clearly sad about it, that he's just frustrated that he can't be good like his brothers. That's the thing about Clampett. Yeah, it's full of wild takes and that, and yet he'll have these small moments of emotion that just adds to the short. And now in my absolute favorite bit, and I'm pretty sure it's everyone's favorite bit in this one, is that little lady sheep, because we know it's a lady because it's got to have those long eyelashes, right? But look at the animation of Beaky trying to grab the sheep and, well, stripping her down as she screams in terror.
Pardon me, madam. I didn't mean to.
And that scream kills me. And Beaky's told off for, well, taking off that sheepskin off of her, I guess. Kind of weird, but yeah, that's definitely one of the best scenes in this. So now we see the mother. She's got the pot all ready, and we're going to get a nice little parade of weird and wonderful things to cook. But look at the animation of this cow that you first see. I mean, this whole bit just completely breaks logic, and I love it. Just the apathetic look of this cow, just looking at the audience going, yeah, I know. And the farmer's just there midair as well. It's just insane. But wow, could this be the best designed cow in Looney Tunes history? Well, I think so. Because, you know, that's all I do all day, just compare the different cows from the different studios, right? And the cherry on top, the wonderful rendition of Old MacDonald Had a Farm, because you need that, right? Because that's what farmers do all day. I mean, if you're a farmer watching this, that is what you do. You go about your day singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm, right? And then you get a cherry on top of the cherry, I guess, where the farmer just walks away like he was completely oblivious to the whole thing. And just a stereotypical farmer with the extra large hat. Great design. And we get, once again, that same cartoon logic as earlier on with Beaky Buzzard, how they don't realize that they're floating up in the air, they feel the ground that doesn't exist, and they fall down. But listen to the vocal delivery of the farmer, just fantastic.
Old MacDonald had a farm, and on this farm he had a cow. With a moo-moo here and a moo-moo there. Here a moo, there a moo, every place a moo.
And we even get one bit of a dog who doesn't want to leave the fire hydrant behind, because we know how dogs are obsessed with fire hydrants, right? Yes, I know why, okay. I know the trope, but it's just hilarious that the dog is more scared about losing the fire hydrant than he is being captured. And we get a very eye-rolling moment. We see a couple in a horse carriage with a horse there, and of course, darling, when I'm with you, I feel like I'm up in the clouds. Chef's kiss. That's beautiful. As far as dad jokes go, beautiful.
Darling, when I'm with you, I feel like I'm way up in the clouds.
But why does he pant like a dog at the end? That's kind of creepy, isn't it? And we get even more ridiculous with the fact that they're even getting elephants for this pot. I mean, how big is this pot? I don't know how you're going to fit everything in there, but anyway. And yes, the whole thing, I'm not Dumbo. Remember, Dumbo would have been released a few years before this one, and it was a major smash hit, and it provided some much needed revenue for the Disney studio at the time, which had major losses due to the war. So this is a nice little dig at Disney, but it's all in good fun. But yeah, the pot's clearly not big enough, but the mother makes it work. She's very resourceful after all. But I love the contrast. So you got all the siblings, they're bringing these ridiculously large items, and what does Killer end up getting? A little Bumblebee, and sings his little theme song about the fact that he's happy that he got the bee. But you know something's going to happen, right? But I love the animation of the little bee and the mother bee. Yes, this makes no sense. We all know how bees work, okay, but we just go with it. And just the animation acting of the mother bee talking to the little bee, and you don't even need to understand what any of them are saying. It's just such expressive animation. And if you freeze frame it, it looks like that the mother bee has a million arms as well. It's incredible. But Beaky ends up getting stung by the bee, and that's another wonderful moment to slow-mo. And Kent Rogers voice acting for that as he yells out, "Bee!" Cherry on top.
Bringing home a baby bumblebee. Bum, 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 bumblebee, bumblebee. Oh, jumble, jumble, humble, bumblebee.
But Beaky lands on the ground and ends up soothing his behind and sees this little head. And again, we know that there's something more to this little head, right? And Beaky takes an awfully long time to realize that, yep, he's actually a smaller bit of game that he could get and take back to his mother. I like how he just keeps on slapping and knocking that head out. It's just wonderful animation. And the expression of this little head, which, if you've seen this short before, you know that it's a rather large thing that's behind all of this. But just the reveal that this is a giant dragon is hilarious. Just how tiny is this head compared to the body? It's just ridiculous. Now, fun fact, not long after this, Clampett leaves the studio. In fact, he would have left the studio around this time that this short was released. He still had some more shorts coming out in 1946, so those were well into production and just about completed, except for maybe the last two. But he would eventually go on and do the Beanie and Cecil show, where there will be like a puppet show, and then later on another animated show in the 60s. Clampett's definitely always had a thing for dinosaurs. And I know this is not a dinosaur, but this is definitely something in his wheelhouse. And look at the animation of him trying to lift up this dragon. And if you're an animation student, that's actually a pretty good scene to study, just how to have all that weight come down on him when he's trying to lift up this dragon. But look at the dragon's head in the next shot, though. I like how it's just gone from this small little thing, like it's, I guess, a turtle kind of thing, to now a fully fledged dragon head of the correct size. And yes, the dragon roars, but Beaky's too stupid to realize that that's the shorty that he's trying to get. And Kent Rogers yelling out, "Shorty!" That's such a great delivery. And again, Kent Rogers was such a tremendous talent, but yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Here, you little, short.
Shorty!
So we get this wonderful mini chase scene, and around this time, Clampett was doing a lot of remakes, and he was also reusing animation and stuff. And so we see this brief fight scene that ends up going behind the clouds. And my guess is that that was one way to get back on schedule. He could have had this whole thing animated, and usually he would, but I think that's part of the cost cutting that he would have been doing at the time to catch up. Because then in the next scene, we are now at night, where the mother's wondering, where's Killer? And we see a wonderful bit of emotional acting by Sarah Burner as the mother saying, where's Killer? She may think her son is stupid, but she still loves him,
To my little baby, my little Bumblebee. Oh, where is my killer? Killer, come home! Oh, my little killer, my little Bambino.
But no, we see that Beaky arrives. He's got a bandage on his head, looking worse for wear. But that deep sigh of relief of her being happy that Killer's back home ends up changing to, hey, whenever you come back, you always come back empty-handed. And again, the acting is amazing in this scene, along with Sarah Burner's voice acting. And the cool thing is, even though that voice originated from somewhere, even if you don't know that, it's such a great voice on its own, and just suits the character perfectly. But we see that Beaky actually did end up capturing that dragon, as we end up with that saying that Clampett used in just about all his shorts recently. Well, now, I wouldn't say that, which is by Richard LeGrand, and all you need to do is watch Drafty Daffy, where I go through the origins of that phrase. That review is up on the channel. And we end right there. So my good friend John, this is one of his favorite shorts. So he sent me a little recording. I said, all right, I'll put it on. He just wanted to say a few words. So take it away, John.
Hello, it's me again, John, and today I want to give my quick thoughts on the Bashful Buzzard. So the first thing I'd like to mention about this cartoon is how Beaky Buzzard is one of my favorite supporting players in the Looney Tunes series, and I really love the character, his personality. He's just such a charming character. And if anybody's curious to know what I think about Bugs Bunny Gets the Boy, I really love that cartoon, and it's one of my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoons. So back to Bashful Buzzard. One of my favorite things on this cartoon is just Beaky himself through the entire short. Just the way that he's acting just at the beginning when he doesn't want to go hunting and goes, oh no. Even if the animation is clearly recycled from the opening of Bugs Bunny Gets the Boy, but they obviously change a little bit the dialogue this time to be different. About the gags on this cartoon, another gag that I really enjoy is later on the cartoon where Beaky has a little Bumblebee captured and the parent Bumblebee appears and he stings Beaky. I really like that scene. Especially when the bumblebees are talking and you don't understand exactly what they are talking about. But you can somewhat make on your mind that the parent is like, why did you get captured by that buzzard? Just attack it. And later, my other favorite gag is Bob and Beaky and the worm in Asterix, because it's later revealed that it's a gigantic dragon. And I really like how Beaky doesn't realize that he's fighting a dragon until we get a shot of the dragon's face in rage, and then Beaky quickly running away into the clouds, which again, it has some great animation. I really like to pause during that scene where Beaky's almost running away. I also really like some of the gags featured also in here, featuring Beaky's brothers, like when one of them has a dog capture and he has like a fire hydrant with him, or the one with the farmer who was with his cow and then moves and realizes that the sky about to fall. But also the ending is pretty funny where Beaky's mother thinks that he hasn't brought anything to dinner, and the dragon is there, and he's like, well, I wouldn't say that. And that makes me question, how did he defeat the dragon even? But yeah, overall, the Bashful Buzzard is such a funny cartoon with great animation, some funny scenes and gags. It's one cartoon I highly recommend you to watch. So that's all that I have to say about this cartoon, and I'll see you all later in another review.
So rewatching this one, again, I stand by Beaky not being one of my favorite characters. Yes, I know I've said in the channel many times I love stupid characters, but for whatever reason, I haven't really connected to it. But the more I watch the Bashful Buzzard, the more I like it, the more I think it's really funny in terms of the way it's structured. It's just got a very basic idea, and that's it. There's not much of a way of story, right? Now, which one's better, this or Bugs Bunny Gets the Boy? I think this one's a bit better, only because Bugs Bunny Gets the Boy features a Bugs Bunny where the characterization isn't quite there for the rabbit, since it's one of the earlier appearances. But here it does show that Beaky can hold his own when it comes to actually headlining a short. Could more shorts to this character have worked? Maybe under Clampett. I know they did try again in 1950, where they had one by McKimson and one by Friz Freeling, where they took very different approaches with the character, and that didn't quite work out as well, at least in my opinion. Had Clampett stayed at the studio, would we have seen more Beaky Buzzard shorts? Perhaps. I think this was something that he was working towards, but as it stands, we've got 2 decent shorts, even if, again, I'm not the biggest Beaky Buzzard fan. This one gets 8 out of 10. It's enjoyable, it's funny, got some wonderful moments, and some of the weirdest moments in Looney Tunes as far as I'm concerned. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
Fingers, you never bring home a one teensy-weensy piece of a meat.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.